You're listening to the One Man Show Network. Welcome to the MMA Fight Picks Podcast with your host, Aaron Weinbaum.
Hey kids, welcome to the MMA Fight Picks Podcast. I am your host, Aaron Weinbaum, and today I'm joined by, I'm going to call him Superfan, Charlie Harper. He asked to come on, and I say always, hey, if you want to be a guest, feel free to ask and come on. He contributed quite a bit last week when I had James Lynch on for UFC San Antonio. How you doing, Charlie?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Hey, man, thanks for coming on. Why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself before we dive into picking some fights?
Sure. I've been UFC mixed martial arts super fan since the 90s. And back when we had to go to a Blockbuster Video and get a tape, stick it in the machine to watch it. And I've been a super fan ever since. So appreciate you having me on. I'm in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I follow the fights every weekend. It's really the only sport I watch, hardcore addiction, guilty pleasure. So I love the opportunity to jump on and talk to you about it.
That's
I appreciate
awesome.
what you do, too, with the podcast. It's awesome.
Thank you, man. That's funny because I did the Blockbuster thing when we were younger, too. So, a lot younger. It was crazy. We get UFC 1, UFC 2, with this little guy in a robe was choking everybody out left and right. So, super cool, man. But anyway, UFC 240, man, for a pay-per-view, not all that exciting, really, is it?
No, just a little light. I mean, it's top heavy at the end of the night, but it's a little light overall. There's some interesting things that are happening, but overall, it's kind of a light card.
Yes, it is for sure. We're streaming live on Periscope, so feel free to chime in and help us pick fights. If you're on the YouTube, feel free to hit subscribe, and if you're listening on iTunes, don't be scared to subscribe there also, and rate me 5 stars because you love me so much. All right, first up. This is I'm a bit of a name mispronouncer, by the way, so I'm just warning you here.
We got quite a few complicated names on this card.
We do. Marc-André Barriault against Krzysztof Jotko, who I had the pleasure of watching, I believe, in UFC Philadelphia way back when. But this guy is, Mark, is fairly new to the UFC. He lost against Andrew Sanchez at UFC 151. That's where Iaquinta versus Cowboy, where I personally think Iaquinta was robbed. I'm just kidding. I can't really say that. But clearly I'm a fan of Iaquinta. And then Jotko, who it was weird because he was on a weird 3-fight skid, and then he recently won against Alan Armadovsky. Yeah, there's a lot of tongue twisters here in this circle of fights. But who you got?
Well, I think overall the general theme is it's going to be a tough night for the Canadians. I think this one, both of these guys are about the same age. From what I know and seen of Jotko, he's just kind of that grinding wrestler. He does have some decent striking, but my guess is that he's going to take him down. It's going to be a little bit of a boring fight. I think that Jotko will wind up winning in the end. Mark can be fun to watch, but I don't think that this is a great matchup for him. I think if Mark wins, it's going to be because he dug deep and was just able to, just gut out a win in some way. But if I was betting on this one, I'd be betting on the Polish fighter Jotko to come out a win, and the Canadians to be a little bit sad.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with you here because, Jotko has lost, 3 out of his last 4, but he's fought some killers. David Branch, he hasn't had a great run either, but, he is high caliber. Uriah Hall, Brad Tavares, and of course he just had that recent win. If you want to go strength of schedule here, I think Jotko for sure. I can't disagree. I think Jotko's going to win as well. And with everyone fleeing the middleweight division for light heavyweight, one win, and Oil Country 40 says we fight better with skates on. That would be a Canadian reference. Yes, you guys do. You kick some ass and knock some teeth out for sure. So yeah, I tend to agree. I think I Jotko here. Speaking of Canada, the best Canadian nickname ever, Oliver Aubin-Mercier, the Canadian Gangster versus Arman.
Canadian Gangster.
That's right. Versus Arman. Here we go. Tsarukyan. I am just going to say Arman. How about that? But let's see. Let's look at Arman here. He has fought in the UFC one time. A loss against Islam Makhachev, who's no joke. The Canadian gangster, though, not exactly on a run himself. He's lost 2 in a row. Alexander Hernandez, that's a decision loss there, and Alexander Hernandez just had a close fight this weekend and lost to Gilbert Burns, a decision also. Before that, he had wins against Evan Dunham and Tony Martin, Drew Dober, who's no joke. What are you thinking?
I think, again, Canadians are gonna fall on this one. I think the young Arman, he's 22 years old. I feel like he's the up and comer. He lost that debut. I agree. Islam is super tough, but I think that for a wrestler, he's got some pretty good striking. I think he did some kickboxing or K1 or something, overseas, over in Asia or something. He's got some pretty good striking for a guy who's like a wrestler. Yeah. I'll be curious to watch it since he lost his debut. I think he'll have a little bit of extra motivation there. He's super young, so you never know, but I'm picking against the Canadian gangster. This is the Canadian gangster's 12th fight in the UFC, which I think is an interesting stat in and of itself. Yeah. Credit to him there, but I'm, again, picking against the Canadians here.
Wow, totally anti-Canada here. I'm going to have to go with Canadian gangster on this one. I think his experience in the UFC, his strength of schedule for sure. Arman, I'm trying to think he's got any notable wins here. Junior Sansei was no joke. I believe he used to fight in the UFC. But other than that, really a list of guys I've never heard of. I'm going to have to go with Canadian gangster here. And, mainly just because I like to say Canadian gangster. How about that? But, no, I think experience alone, that'll help too. Big Barp 1 says OEM training with special training from GSP on this fight. Ooh, I like it even more now. I think he's been working with Faraz Zahabi and GSP and those guys. Is Faraz is not his head coach, but I know he's part of that coaching roster. So okay,
should be good.
Well, listen, a training partner like GSP, that can only elevate you, right? Unless you're getting absolutely creamed every day, which that's possible too. He's like, I am not impressed with your nickname, but GSP, that's nice. That's awesome too, because I like to hear that GSP still rolling, because there is a chance after Khabib and Dustin Poirier, GSP was recently quoted as saying Khabib would be his legacy fight. So I would definitely be interested to see that.
They keep talking about it. If they keep talking about it, eventually figure we're going to see it.
But by the way, if you see my camera going in and out, I had to swap out my Logitech because it was not picking out light. I am traveling. I'm traveling right now. I've got some mobile equipment I am testing out, and I'm here for you, the people, giving you the MMA fight picks that you want, the MMA fight picks that you deserve with Superfan Charlie Harper. So you can give Charlie
the road warrior.
That's right. Charlie H_USA. If you're watching this on the video, you see it there on the screen through the magic of Ecamm Live. All right, next up, Geoff Neal. Listen, I think you're kind of in my age bracket. I'm not really sure, but Geoff Neal and Niko Price. And every time I hear the name Niko, I think of Steven Seagal above the law. Is that too old for you?
It's a little too old for me, but yes, I think we're in the same bracket.
Oh, for God's sake. Big Barp says it's working fine. Thank you, bud. I was good to know that. Maybe that's on my end then.
Good old Big Barp coming through.
BIGBHARP1. You can follow him on the Twitter as well. All right, so Geoff Neal, Niko Price. Geoff Neal's no joke. He beat Bilal Muhammad, I guess, back in January. Bilal is no joke. Bilal's tough as they come. Wins against Frank Camacho, Brian Camozzi, brother of Chris Camozzi. And then you got Niko, Oil Country with the thumbs up. Thanks, buddy. Niko just beat Tim Means, who we know is no joke. Lost to Abdul Razak Al-Hassan. Win against Randy Brown. He's a Contender Series find. George Sullivan. This is kind of a toss-up, man. This is hard for me. What are you thinking?
Yeah, and I think Geoff is coming off the Contender Series too, right? That's where he came out of.
Yes, it is. Way back July 2017. Wow, I didn't realize this was going on for that long. But yeah, 2017.
Yeah, so So for me, I think that this one is our potential fight of the night. If Frankie and Max don't deliver, I think this could be the potential fight of the night. Um, they're both about the same age. Niko is kind of a wild man. He'll surprise, knock out somebody, just crazy man. Swinging punches. Niko's a little bit taller, a little bit longer, but I think Geoff Neal winds up winning it. He's on a 5-fight win streak. 3 of those fights have been wins in the UFC, and he's coming out of LFA, which LFA is no joke. I mean, it's a legitimate feeder for the UFC. So Geoff's a good striker, kickboxer, and I think the counters. You got Niko, who's a little bit wild. If you've got somebody who's a sharp striker that's good at counters, well, that's terrible for a wild man like Niko. So I think Geoff gets it done. I don't think it goes to a decision. I'm hoping that this one's going to be our fight of the night.
Yeah, it really could be. These guys have both beat some killers, Tim Means, who I have a lot of respect for. I think the thing for me here is Bilal. Bilal is as tough as they come. I think he's underrated as far as the rankings are concerned. That win means a lot for me. And I think, yeah, geez. But then, again, you got Niko, who knocked out Tim Means, knocked out Randy Brown. This could be the fight of the night, and this is really tough for me to pick here. But, a grind against Bilal Muhammad, who's always in shape, I think means just a little bit more for me and how tough Geoff is. And if you look at Geoff here, he doesn't really have – I don't think he's ever been knocked out except for one time, and that's way back – January 2017, but Niko's been knocked out too as recently as 2018. Man, I'm just gonna have to bite my. I'm just gonna bite down and make a pick here, and I'm just gonna go Geoff Neal here. I think that win against Bilal means more than Geoff Neal. I gotta go Geoff Neal. All right, next up.
I like it.
I like this almost as a main event. I mean, this is cool. I don't know. I wasn't sure that Amanda Nunes could challenge Cris Cyborg, but now we get Cris Cyborg, Felicia Spencer, the unheralded nickname, which I have suggested. I don't think she's going to take me up, but why is it not by Felicia Spencer? All right? I mean, come on, right?
Bye, Felicia.
Bye, Felicia. Of course.
What is it? What is her nickname? Phenom?
I don't know, actually.
I think it's Phenom.
Let's look here. You think it's Phenom? All right. Hang on. Let's see here. If I can look it up real quick. I'm not finding it, man. I'm not finding a nickname. She's not.
Well,
not, at least
we'll find out on Saturday.
We'll find out on Saturday. Well, I think it should be by Felicia, but maybe it's not. All right. Anyway, Cyborg hasn't lost since Amanda Nunes beat the brakes off of her, and wow, what a surprise that was for me. It was hard for me to pick against Cyborg, but boy, did Amanda Nunes prove me wrong. But Felicia Spencer is a killer, man. She's never been beat Megan Anderson in quick fashion, round 1. I believe that was a submission. Yeah, submission, rear naked choke. She's a submission machine, but Cyborg's no joke on the ground. She just really never has to show it because she's knocking gals out left and right. Woo. What are you thinking?
I think we're going to see a super motivated Cyborg knock out Felicia Spencer. I think Dana and them want Felicia to win. I think she's a little bit younger, attractive, Canadian, jiu-jitsu specialist. Like, I think they would love for her to win. I think Cyborg is she seems angry and agitated. She seems like she's super motivated to kind of close out the UFC chapter and maybe go somewhere else. I don't know where she would go, maybe Bellator.
Yeah.
But I would be picking Cyborg. I think we see another Canadian lose on Saturday.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, how do you pick against Cyborg? She's lost one time in how many years? Who's the Bellator 145-pound champ? She's on a roll too. Let me see here. Oh, I need to look up women's champ. I want to say Julia Budd. Is that right? Maybe not.
I don't know.
Let's see.
Well, and Bellator has been they've got a lot of female fighters.
Yeah.
They've been adding to that female fighter stable, and some people are arguing now that the Bellator female stable of fighters is superior to the UFC stable of fighters. And if they pull over Cyborg after a win, to kind of close out her UFC career, that's a huge notch there too.
The champ is Julia Budd, and she's been the champ for over 800 days. So good on her. Chunky Monkey 68 says, "Whoop whoop, hey bro, what's up, Chunky Monkey?" All right. I think it's Cyborg, and probably by knockout. Phenom. Oh, Oil, thank you. It is the Phenom. Oil Country 40 asked Google for us. Thank you. It's always nice to have some Periscope participation here on the live picks, and I always love you guys chiming in. So thank you so much. And this is how we met Charlie, right?
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, those are some of my crew that we watch on Periscope, talk on Periscope every week. So that's probably why they're chiming in.
And Chunky Monkey's still raining praise. Thank you, Chunky Monkey. We appreciate it, man. All right, the main event of the evening: Max Holloway versus Frankie Edgar. Listen, man, this is interesting because Frankie, obviously, he's getting up there. He beats everyone in the division that's not Jose Aldo. But I think it's a bad matchup for Max in a way. He does well against these bigger guys. Look what he did to Jeremy Stephens, and Jeremy Stephens looked huge compared to Frankie, Whew. I don't know, man. And you got Max, who doesn't really get stopped by anyone 145 pounds. It just went to show how undersized he is at 155. Not saying, if it was one of those deals, I think it should be one of those deals where he really spends time putting on mass and getting to 155 for real. It just looked like he just cut less weight and it was a little doughier. I'm not saying he's not in great shape. He's in great shape. He's one of the best athletes in the universe. But, there's a difference between 145 and 155. Dustin was killing himself to make 145 and depleting himself. I think 155 is even a tough cut for Dustin. So, but let's look here. Frankie's last loss, was Brian Ortega, and he could have I think he may have just got caught there. When have you ever seen him just flash knocked out like that? I don't think ever. Yeah.
That's his first time. That was the first and only.
First and only. It was bound to happen. But Max Holloway hasn't lost at featherweight since Connor way back in the day. I mean, was that, golly, when was that? 2014 or earlier? Let's take a look here.
Yeah, I think it was earlier than that.
2013. Amazing.
Yep.
All right. Well, without tipping my hat, who do you got?
Well, so I think that although Max looks super tall to Frankie, one of the interesting things when I was just kind of looking at it this week is their reach is about the same.
Really?
Max's reach, they said, was something like 69 inches, and Frankie's was 68. So,
wow.
Although Max is towering over him, when they're doing the stare downs, the reach is about the same. So, we just like to think, Max, we think of him as long and tall, but it's not the same kind of long as like John Jones with super long arms.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting. I think this is Frankie's last shot at, really, taking another crack at it. I think if he loses here, like, what's he going to do? I mean, is he really going to keep grinding it out to try to make another crack at it?
I think his best bet, if he loses here, I think he could make the cut feasibly to 135 pounds. He doesn't want to do it. I don't think he has to cut a whole heck of a lot to get to 145 pounds. So, I mean, that is an option. And he did beat, the chosen one, Uriah Faber, at 145 pounds. So that could technically be a matchup somewhere down the line, too. Chunky Monkey agrees. Thank you, buddy. Yeah, but golly, this is not an easy one for me to pick. My heart wants to say Frankie, but I think Max is just too quick. I think he's just too quick for him. It all depends on how good Max's takedown defense is, because we know Frankie's going to try to take him down. 37, yeah. Frankie's 37 years old. That's
10 years older than Max.
Wow.
And I do think that you're right. I think the wrestling is the X factor here. So if you look through his career,
mm-hmm.
there's no really top-level wrestlers that you'll see. You know, when you think about a Max Holloway fight, you think tons of cardio, tons of striking, but when I looked through the list, like I didn't see a whole list of like solid wrestlers. I think Frankie is absolutely going to be the best wrestler that Max has ever faced. So I think that's the huge X factor as far as what you said, takedown defense, and like how is Max going to handle that?
Yeah.
I think it's also interesting. Max coming. This is one of the only times that we get a title defense coming off of a loss from a champion. You know, so that creates a unique situation there with Max coming off of a loss to Dustin at the next level, but still defending his title at the, you know, so that's interesting. And for Frankie, I think this is the third time that they've tried to book this fight. I think they had two other times it was booked that it got stopped because of injury or something else. So
listen, this fight is on Saturday. We're picking this on a Wednesday. I'm still a little nervous that something may happen between now and then.
Yeah, knock on wood. I hope we don't get another cursed fight. But I think Max. I think I'll knock on the wood for us.
Thank you.
I think Max gets it done. But I would love for Frankie to win. I mean, if you start watching the embeddeds, it's hard not to root for him. Frankie's so likable. He's running the boardwalk in Jersey, and they're cheering him on like a real life Rocky. It's hard not to pull for Frankie, but I think Max is just gonna piece him up from the outside.
Listen, this was 2013, but I think Conor had him on his back at one point. But here's the thing with Max. You know, we saw this with Masvidal and Askren in a more extreme situation. He was ready for that takedown and timed that knee perfect. You know, who knows what Max has been training for with Frankie. And the other thing is this, too. You know, Max has mastered what I like to call distance. He keeps these guys, you know, like Ortega that like to grab you and take you down and submit you. He kept him at bay with punches and kicks. And, you know, it all depends if Frankie can get in there or not. And you know, Aldo did the same thing with Frankie. Frankie couldn't really get in there. Aldo was just lighting him up. So, and even though that first fight was really close, I got to go Frankie. Or, I mean, I'm sorry. No, not Frankie. Sorry, Frankie. I got to go Max. I got to go with the favorite son here at 145 pounds. It's
yeah. I mean, if Max wins, I'm going to be happy because we get to continue to see this super dominant, you know, champion. And if Frankie wins, I'll be super happy because we get to see this great feel-good story where Frankie, you know, kind of closes it out on top.
Yeah, it's not one of those deals. I won't be upset if Frankie wins. I would be very happy for Frankie if Frankie wins. What a story, you know. Even Chunky Monkey said win and retire. You know what? That's an option too. And he's taken a lot of wear and tear on the body, and you know, I wouldn't be mad, but I think we did it, man. I think we picked the best fights for 240. Big Barb says, "Bless up to you, brother." Before we go, where can we find you, Charlie?
Well, I'm on Twitter. I'm on Periscope. They're all right there, Charlie H_USA. But yeah, that's where you find me. But I think they should find you. Because you're bringing the people what we need, the reports on MMA, even on the road with the traveling setup.
That's right, brother. You can find me at AaronSaysWhat.com, baby. Click on the MMA Fight Picks tab. Anyone interested in the podcasting can find me on the Podcasting Made Simple podcast as well, and the Facebook group. So, for sure, listen, you're periscoping all the time. Follow this guy on Periscope. He's periscoping about the UFC nonstop. My phone's blowing up all the time because Charlie's periscoping it, which is awesome. I love the UFC. I love the guys that asked to come on this show, and I really appreciate it, man.
Well, likewise. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for doing what you do. We love it.
Oh, well, thank you so much, man. And tell your friends, and I'm going to say goodbye. We'll definitely have to do it again. All right, brother?
All right, thanks.
All right, man. Thank you. All right, what a great guest you were, and I'm gonna have to switch off here. I don't know how to hang you up, buddy. Can you hang up for me? Appreciate it. Awesome. Thank you, Charlie. Now I gotta switch this camera. This is I'm learning here on the road. This is a little bit of a setup. And that's it, 240. I think it's going to be a great card. I hope I get home in time to watch it. I'm supposed to be somewhere else, but you know how that goes. Until next time, this is Aaron Weinbaum on the MMA Fight Picks Podcast. Shalom.
Please remember to support the podcast by visiting the affiliate links on AaronSaysWhat.com.